Of all the bizarre stories of government conspiracies and secret experiments, none can match the complexity and sheer audacity of the World War II project known as the Philadelphia experiment. According to researchers and even some witnesses, this ship, the USS Eldridge, was fitted out with experimental electronic gear designed to make it invisible. By all accounts, the experiment was a disaster for the men on board, but that was only the beginning of the complex controversy that began in 1943 and continues into some as yet unknown future. You see, part of what went wrong was that the ship not only disappeared, it traveled 40 years into the future. The question is, was that a mistake, or was that the part of the experiment that worked?
Albert Einstein did complete the work on unified field theory. He and other mathematicians did complete the equations which gave us the field for invisibility.
Were time travel experiments really going on at Fort Hero in Montauk, Long Island in the 1980s? What was or is the Phoenix Project? Who were the Montauk Boys? Have researchers usurped the work of some of our greatest scientists in order to conduct secret studies on time travel, interdimensional transit, and mind control without the participants' knowledge? Is it still going on? We'll project ourselves about 2 minutes into the future and predict that a host of surprises are still to come. Many parts of this fractured tale of technology gone berserk are difficult to believe. It reads like a combination of H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, and Bridie Murphy. Yet the story is filled with names, places, and dates that are subject to verification, and a number of serious investigators have devoted a vast amount of time and money to doing just that. And as you might expect, the Navy has not been particularly helpful. Ever since the story of the Philadelphia experiment began circulating in 1956, and during the nearly 50 years between then and now, the United States Navy has steadfastly and emphatically denied that any such experiment took place, that the technology to perform such a feat did not exist then and, in fact, does not exist today. But what do the records and logbooks show? Maybe we should pause here for just a moment and catch our breath. A story that began with a World War II experiment in radar invisibility has now become a sort of urban legend involving time travel. Let's look closely and see what we really know. A man by the name of Carl Allen claimed to be a witness of the Eldridge's disappearance, though not of the teleportation. And it should be noted that right up to his death, Carl Allen never wavered from his story. We also know there was a closed facility of some kind at Fort Hero in Montauk, Long Island. It is in fact still there.
What we see today is just the tip of the iceberg. In actuality, under the Montauk facility is a very large underground base. The base stretches out for miles, maybe 5 miles. It would take us 15 to 20 minutes to ride in a golf cart from one end to the other end. And the computer technology we had at Montauk was the fastest known in the world in the mid-70s. We actually had Cray 1s and Cray 2s, which were the fastest computers that were made at the time.
And there are others who claim to have been at Montauk, working on the project at one time or another. Stuart Swerdlow says he was picked up one night while he was still in high school and brought there.
Because of my genetic background and my family history, I was taken into use in the project at a very early age and in an early phase. Initially, I thought there were alien beings in control of it. However, later on, I discovered it was the military and the guise of aliens who actually manipulated it. My earliest memories involve mind control experimentation, techniques and tactics that were used on the test subjects so that they could be later used on the general population. Later on, they went into genetic manipulations and finally into time travel experiments.
We also know that the government will confirm none of this. To the contrary, they emphatically deny that any such experiments, tests, or research took place in Philadelphia in 1943 or in Montauk at any time. But independent testimony continues to suggest that something out of the ordinary did indeed take place.
I have a lot of personal knowledge of the Montauk Project because it's simple. I was there. I built some of the equipment that actually bent space and time and did mind control. When I was brought out to the actual project in 1968, I was informed that the project was actually a carry-on from the Philadelphia experiment. I was actually given the final report for the Philadelphia experiment to review, and it actually listed the Cameron brothers, Ed and Duncan Cameron, as the Navy liaison officers.
Could it be that there is something to the stories after all? The evidence is all circumstantial, but is it compelling enough to warrant further investigation?
At Montauk, we had a system that we called the Montauk chair, which was actually a lounge chair with a group of coils around it that through quantum electromagnetic processes actually picked up the thoughts, put it into a group of receivers designed and built by Nikola Tesla in the 30s, which are even today very unique. This then was digitized and put into a computer system where the thoughts are actually decoded and read, and then from there it went to the radar transmitter. The radar tower was sent out into the electromagnetic background in order to affect the thoughts of other people. This is not so far-fetched because today the Air Force is using head movement, eye movements, electroencephalogram readings in order to control the flight of some of the very advanced airplanes.
The Montauk Project technology created portals in time and space through which people traveled. Initially, the test subjects were considered disposable, and many of them were lost. Later on, they developed a core group known as the Montauk Boys. They traveled through time and space effortlessly. However, the tragedy was that less than 1% of them survived the experimentation. The interesting thing about my experience at Montauk is that unlike many of the other test subjects, my memory remained intact. They couldn't mask it or alter it, and for that reason I remained an anomaly to them. And so for many years, they tried to brainwash me to not speak about it, and even threatened me that if I did speak about it in public, they would consider me to be an insane person and actually have me committed to a mental institution for the rest of my life.